afternoon.
Thank you so much for being here, for the energy in the room. Today is Wednesday, April the 30th, 2025, and it is precisely 5:37 in the afternoon. This is the Suicide Prevention Committee, and I'm going to invite everybody to be attentive to the roll call that Ms. Angie will be conducting right now. Angie?
Dr. Julie Masan,
Present.
Maxine Reyes, Edward Martinez, Miguel Rangel,
Present.
Marisela Jacqueline,
Present.
Earl Medina,
Present.
Gabriel Martinez,
Present.
Jaime Montes, Marina Medina. Present.
We have a quorum.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Angie, and thank you to each of you for making the time to join us. I know it's been a very long and steaming day throughout the community, but thank you for making your way here and being part of this very important initiative. The next item on the agenda is the reflection, so I want to just take a moment to do that, but before we continue with the reflection, I'm going to invite everyone to do a moment of silence for the people we have lost to suicide. So let's do a moment of silence. Thank you, everyone. We'll now do our reflection. Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for bringing us together as your children. Thank you for giving us the wisdom that we need to do the right thing in our community. Join us and gift us with your presence, not just here spiritually, God, but as we make our way home with our families, our friends. Guide us in every step we take and allow us to make the right decisions always for the best interest of those around us. In the name I pray, Jesus Christ, amen. Do we have any public comments, Angie?
No public comment.
No public comments, thank you. The first item on the agenda after that is the approval of the minutes for March 26, 2025. And I believe that those are part of your package for the committee members. They're on the left-hand side. I'll give you a moment to review them so that we can take action on them.
There's just gonna be a correction on the approval of minutes, just the name is, it should have been Gabriel, not Deborah. So, it's gonna be updated.
Okay, so that's one correction there. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
May I make a motion to approve the minutes?
Are we ready to vote on them? I do have a motion on the floor by Mr. Rangel to approve the minutes with that one correction noted by Earl Medina. Do I have a second? Marina?
Yes.
Thank you so much. We have a motion to approve in a second. Any questions or comments before I take the vote? Very good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you so much. The next item on the agenda is the City of Laredo Police Report, and we're getting set up for that report, so I just want to say thank you to the police department for always giving us this information and for always, being there to respond to, all the cases, not just cases pertaining to suicide, but our first responders, I think, are sometimes, not well acknowledged, and they do all the hard work, so thank you for that. And while that PowerPoint is coming up, I just want to remind everyone that when we vote on items, it's only the appointed committee members that can vote. Of course, discussion, we invite everyone to share ideas, give us your thoughts. But when I call for a vote, it's only the committee members, and that's policy of the City of Laredo. So, are you ready, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Sergeant Heriberto Aulos. I am the supervisor for the Laredo Police Department Mental Health Unit. And this month's report, we have here from January 1st to April 29. And so far, here we have a number that's a little alarming, but so far in this year, we have 11 suicides. So if you all can see from last year's numbers, it's looking like the suicides are increasing and they might surpass next year. So it's just something to think about. So far we have 195 emergency detentions, and emergency detention calls, we have 242. This month, we have 4 suicide, this month. We had one in May 3rd. He was deceased, a male, 28 years old. April 3rd. April 8th, we had an attempted suicide, 18-year-old female. I'm pretty sure you all saw the newspaper and saw the one where she was attempting to jump off. Gladly, we had some sheriff deputies there on scene, and they were able to respond, and they were able to save the female. April 9th, also we had another attempted suicide, a 26-year-old female, by jumping as well. And then April 12th, we had another suicide, a 29-year-old female by hanging. April 24th, a 25-year-old male, gunshot wound. And April 25th, a 35-year-old female by hanging. This going more into depth on the suicides. This is the first call of the month, which was by 100 West San Jose, April 3rd by hanging on Thursday, April 3rd, 2025 at approximately 8:22 a.m. Police responded to an attempted suicide call and located a 28-year-old male who was deceased due to hanging. He didn't have any prior history of being a patient at Border Region. The second one was by 1700 Lafayette Street. This was the one I explained to you all, the female. I'm sorry. On Tuesday, April 4th, at approximately 1:43 p.m., police responded to an attempted suicide call located an 18-year-old female who was standing on the other side of the safety fence who wanted to jump off the bridge, the Lafayette Bridge. A female was detained and taken to get further mental evaluation, and she was a patient of Border Region. So gladly that the sheriff department deputies were there in the vicinity and they were able to help the female. The third one was by 6000 Los Olmos. This one was on April 9th. On Wednesday, April 9th, at approximately 6:22 a.m., police received a call about a female who was attempting suicide by jumping off a bridge by IH-35 and Loop 20. Patrol officers were unable to locate the female by any of the bridges at this location. At approximately 8:43 hours, police located a 26-year-old female by 6000 block Los Olmos who was detained and taken to get further mental health help. And she was a patient at Border Region, and luckily our officers were able to locate this female. The next one was by 600 Parada Machine, and this was on April 12th. On Saturday, April 12th, at approximately 11:29 p.m., police received a call for a welfare check, and responding officers located a 29-year-old female who was deceased due to hanging. This female didn't have history of being a patient at Border Region. Next one was by 100 Zebu Court, April 23rd. On Thursday, April 23rd to 2025 at approximately 4:45 p.m., police received a call about a shooting by Father Magnebo Park. When officers arrived, they located a 25-year-old male with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. He was pronounced deceased at the hospital, and he didn't have any history of being a patient of Border Region. This is the one that I was speaking to you, Frank, about.
Was it 8:45?
Yes, I'm sorry, this, it was at 8,
I just finished running there. And it really felt very sad to know that I was just there. And I'm thinking, did I walk past by this person or did I run by and didn't pay attention? So,
the last one was by 3400 block of Cabo San Lucas Street. This was on Wednesday, April 24, 2025, approximately 4:45 p.m. Not sure on the time, but I think it's the person who was gonna help me do the report, I think she just did it on real quick. I apologize because I was out all last week because of this referendum, but
not a problem, thank you.
on Wednesday, April 24, 2025, police received an attempted suicide call. When officers arrived, they located a 35-year-old male who was deceased due to hanging. This individual didn't have any history of being a patient at Border Region. And this is the signature map that we have, and as you can see where the majority of these suicide calls are coming from. Any questions?
On that heat map, Sergeant, can they do like your legend on the other side to indicating your, what district?
Your zip code.
Yes.
I mean, in the future, President.
Yes, we'll get that.
Where is the, what is what is that down there, just?
At the bottom, that's District 17, that's pretty much, that's south Laredo.
Okay.
And that area, we're looking at possibly a little bit by LBJ, a little bit further north.
So there was 4.
Thank you.
Sergeant, can you go back to the slide where you have the number of calls and the number of attempted and
Yes, here.
that one right there? Is there anything positive that we can look on these statistics, like emergency, detention reports? Like I see in 2024, we had 872 emergency detention reports. Could that be that there were some people there that were safe from, making this decision because of that detention?
Some of these calls, usually we'll file them, the reports, it's usually because they come from, some of them usually are already there at the Border Region. So our mental health unit just goes and we assist by doing the report or doing the ED. So
And as far as ED goes, I'm sorry to interrupt, Sergeant, it does help, especially for us, Frank Sanchez, the Border Region Children's Program, with the adolescents, if they're being aggressive, combative, that's when they come in, and that's great help. So, it does, keep them safe from themselves and others, and that way the process can continue to be hospitalized. Of course, but most time, if they go there on ED, they more likely will get hospitalized.
And I think we just started, I know Border Region just started the SMART team. It's pretty much a team that I think that was already budgeted for it, Frank, correct me if I'm wrong, but, yes, it's pretty much a group of individuals that will respond to a crisis. We're still working out the details because I know we just discussed something, earlier about, so how are they gonna be notified, because I think right now so far it's just Border Region, employees, but, we wanna do something similar to the way San Antonio has, where we have a paramedic, we have, people from the Border Region, and we have our officers as well. And we work collaboratively in pretty much, diffusing the situation and getting the individual help.
Like a little task force.
Yes,
So that's already in place, the
Be able to both adult and for children and adolescents.
Now, you said the funding was, but with only, the funding was within Board of Region. I think the organization then would have to be some sort of agreement so that a task force is created.
It's already in place, I believe, the
Yes.
memorandum of understanding.
And we're working out the details. I know, some of my staff is working with some of the Board of Region staff to pretty much, cause I know we asked, okay, right now we only have the Board of Region employees, for the caseworkers, just doing it, but then we discussed it, well, how are they getting dispatched, or how are they getting notified of the, I think they're just waiting on
So
us.
you're streamlining the process so that
Yes, ma'am.
everything is accurate.
And it could come at a better time because, I mean, it's something very alarming, and we were discussing with my staff, and they tell me, Sarge, there was another suicide, Sarge, there was another suicide, and it's like, it's something we're looking at, you hate to say, hopefully it doesn't turn out this way, but to have 4 in a month, that's a high number. That is a very high number, and we're at 11, and we haven't even reached May. So that's something that's very sad, hopefully.
It is very sad. Any lost life is sad, as is. In the past, sometimes when there was additional information about, maybe somebody had just broken up with their significant other, or somebody had just lost their job, or somebody was ill, is there any information on that from these 4, or these cases in April? I'm wondering, is there a pattern? Is there a reason why there's more this month than last month? Did people lose their job, maybe, I think that would help us, create something, create an outreach, create a resource, create a way to tell these people whether they've lost their job or their significant other, or whatever, if they were diagnosed with an illness, letting them know that there's this phone number,
Yeah.
I think that would help us for the future to you don't need to give us a whole history, but, in the investigation, we learned that this person just, lost their loved one after 40 years of marriage, or whatever the case might be.
And normally that's why we put if they had history of one region, but something that you just can't predict is when they're not a patient. So I guess looking more into the history of this person and finding out what caused it.
Because of the four that actually succeeded in suicide, they did not have Board of Region. And so one of the things that, since we were talking about, how we can streamline, when LPD does go to some of these suicides or attempted suicide, is, I'm curious to know, because they're young, they're all very young, they were 20, they're all in their 20s, one was 25 and 18, and so, it'd be interesting to know what the family dynamics was. Did they live alone? Did they live with people that may have been able to see certain things? And that's that outreach where it's not, this number isn't for the person who's experiencing it, it's for the loved ones to have someone, and everybody who sees a loved one, whether they get sad or depressed and you're getting concerned, you want to be able to call someone and maybe open it up for that. And that's why I'm thinking, can we find out some of the information as to where they lived? Did they live with family? Somebody had to know something was going on if they lived with somebody.
And for the most part, I'll ask the sergeants, because it's our homicide team that respond, and I'll talk to Sergeant Mata or Sergeant Sergeant Mata or Sergeant Monsiváis, and I'll ask them to give me a little brief detail on it, and they'll usually send, because they'll have a major crime report, and they'll include myself. Doing things like, there's certain things that I can't provide,
No,
I apologize,
no.
but yes, so
Just
for
so
the most part,
everyone can
yes.
share, so that we can kind of plan for the future, so that we can do more advocacy in that area,
Yes.
or provide more resources. That would help us very much.
I know for the one that I think from Frank and I were discussing, the one on Z report that was close to Father McNamara, I think it was because of a relationship. I know that.
That's what the rumor is, so, the second person that passed away due to suicide, same age, and they were saying that was the significant other, but I don't know how confirmed, that story is. But, just going off of what you have mentioned, individuals that attempt suicide also, at times, and this is where the medical community comes into play, like I mentioned the last time, or a few meetings back, they give me, when I would go to Dr. Blanco, the iPad and it says, are you thinking, having thoughts of suicide? Are you depressed? Da, 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 da. So a lot of those individuals that die by suicide have had a visit, not only to a mental health facility, but also a doctor's facility. And if they were not patients of Board Region, they had seen the doctor within the year. So that's another area that maybe those 988 numbers or banners can be, or they can get stickers or what have you. So I think that's something that should be, to where accessible to those facilities.
And
because,
maybe throwing in the theme of being
Mhm.
concerned about a loved one.
Yeah.
So that you can feel comfortable calling, about that loved one instead of, it'd be too late. Because people just don't know what to do,
Because right now, with the way things are nationwide, it will go up. The uptick is gonna be there, unfortunately, because people are losing, when it comes to loss of life, loss of a job, loss of a relationship, like Dr. Basan mentioned, all that will be impactful to those individuals. And we get a lot of kids that are hearing all this negative stuff in the news. And adults need to keep those kids away from that unless, you're not gonna explain to them what's going on. You need to keep your children away from all this negative news. And for them to be overly consumed with something that they cannot handle themselves. And we're getting a lot of that. So,
I think all of us have a responsibility with ourselves and the people around us. I've always said, we don't live in a bubble, we share the space with each other. And to be that ear and support system for the person next to you, whether you're close to that person or not, it's something that we have to encourage others to do. Because one person cannot do it alone, one agency cannot do it alone, Board Region cannot do it alone, or the police takes the entire community. But I like what Ms. Jacqueline said about adding that message when you're concerned about your loved one. You can call 988. And that's an extension of what we're already doing, so definitely I like that idea.
I know do we ever advertise Dr. Basan in the newspaper or anywhere else?
who can call it, like it's not, because I think automatically think it's the person who needs help is gonna call. The truth is, we're gonna get, the people who are concerned about that person will call more easily than the person who's experiencing the depression or the suicidal thoughts. It's gonna be the mom or the brother or somebody. I sugarcoated, I got a call and it was a mom who was concerned about her adult daughter. But she said, I don't know who to turn to, she tried calling the employee assistance program, and they take a while to get someone to talk to. She's like, she needed help in the moment. And so it's those acute situations that we need help in.
And I've gone those calls also from a mother that, and this is she has an older son, and their parents, and their mother and the father, and we know something's gonna happen, we just don't know when, and they themselves see that their son is deteriorating. And for those, and we sent one of our officers, and he responded, and everything seemed well, because my officer knows, so he says he was, no, I'm fine. The next day, there's a crisis at that point, and we're like,
But the other thing that we have, that I don't know if it's used right now, and maybe you can help me, there's a process that the county attorney has available, that if a family member feels that the person is a danger to themselves or to others, they file.
They
haven't yet.
we haven't used that because normally I think it's, we'll go ahead and do the detention, but the doctor in San Antonio will not take it. They won't take it because it's a different magistrate. So I think that's where we've had some roadblocks. So there is that avenue, that's something that we just haven't gone down. And we do tell the family members, hey, look, you need to go to the county attorneys, and I myself, we want to include, because we have our monthly meetings, but we wanna go ahead and include the county attorney's office, and I'm telling them, hey, guys, we need to pretty much this process, cause in the week, I'm sorry, it's not always gonna be us, and right now, we're very limited, and of course, everybody notices that there's been a lot of cutting in their funding, and we're only 3, but we wanna make sure that the families are aware that, hey, there is another avenue, they don't wanna go through the law enforcement route or the emergency detention, that they can go to the county attorney's office.
What was your idea about you asked the question about the newspaper? Do you have an idea?
Oh, we're doing advertising.
Yes.
Just one.
And I know because we did it because of the bond and the only reason, but it's something that a lot of people were like, hey, we saw it. So people who do read the newspaper or do have NFT online, it's something that's available and people see it but it is pricey.
So let me tell you and answer that question. We don't have a budget. We have $0. Everything that's been done has been pro bono or people have donated. I know in the month of September, Mr. Green was very generous with giving us space. HR advertising gave us a great deal on bus racks and digital billboards. All the banks that have digital billboards still have the message. So that's how we've been able to do that.
Do we have anybody who can do
I
a
mean, there's
Facebook
no-
presence or a social media presence?
Well, this where it has to be public.
Well, that's a great idea, social media, create a social media for 98. But then who's gonna maintain it? Remember that we're all volunteers, so that's something that we can write down as a follow-up project, because it's easy to do, right? And I'm saying, I don't know.
Dr. Masan, what about the health department, even if we just post something or I can even talk to our PIOs, the police department, and that's a page that we have a lot of following. So maybe we can push it out like that and we can push it out and then everybody shares it and get that message out there. I mean, it's just an idea.
No, I invite everyone to put it on your social media page, whatever message that supports our message. I know at the Area Health Education Center, we always do, I do it on my LinkedIn page. I don't know how many followers I have, but whoever sees me will see that I do that all the time, because I try to remind people almost on a weekly basis. But if you can tag each other with a message, please do. So, the message will be, are you concerned about a loved one? Call or text 988. I think that's important, and we can generate that banner for the next rally.
And if you just give me, if you provide me with the information, I can talk to our PIOs and we can post it. And then I can just send the email and say, hey, guys, you know what, it's on there, it's on our page. Just log into the Laredo Police Department Facebook page and just share it.
So, that will be great. I'll send you that information. You can send me the link or whatever it is. And we can send it not just to the committee members, but the entire coalition of people that have joined us in previous meetings. Because I think it's gonna take all of us to get the word out. Yes,
This
sir.
gentleman, did you have a question?
I had a question. From all those numbers, my name is Eva Ortiz, I work with West Care, work for communities. My question was, 2 years ago, we go into the schools, 2 years ago, I encountered 3 girls that tried to commit suicide. I mean, they were cutting themselves up, going up and down. So are these numbers including children or just adults?
These are just reports that get documented from the Laredo Police Department. If those are reports that are filed from the school district, we don't have access to those numbers. I mean, but it would be an idea to invite somebody from the school district and both school districts to maybe get their numbers as well. Because I'm pretty sure the counselors and all them get quite a bit of calls.
Yeah, I was surprised in middle school, 6, 7, 8, 3 in one semester or one term over there.
Yeah, but there's a difference though between a person that's thinking about hurting themselves and having tendencies to hurt yourself. in
But
that
this
way.
girl-
What if they boys?
Yeah, these girls work.
Yeah, but cutting to end their lives or as a method of,
Method, no, they were trying to end.
yeah, so in that case, the counselor has the one, the counselor and the principal have to contact the other.
I think that your why we invite members of the community to attend these meetings, because together we can figure out how we can better help each other. So I'm gonna put that here on my notes, invite the school district, to see who they will send, maybe their police chief or somebody that they can designate. And the private school also, I think the private schools need to be attending these meetings. Thank you very much for that, thank you for your suggestion.
I have another question. So the numbers here are just, Laredo Police Department. There's, Webb County is not included there, right?
No.
So maybe we can invite them too and they can come give us an update.
For the most part, if it's within the city limits, they're gonna send us. I know Webb County also has their mental health unit,
So I think we should invite them to join us for this meeting and bring stats as well, so that we can get the complete report of our city, our county, right? Very good. Thank you for that great discussion. Any other comments or
Yeah.
questions?
Eleven in charge of, mental health unit.
I remember it was a Cordova, no, it was a Cordova. Cordova.
What was the question?
I think he was asking me who was in charge of it, because I know they have because they're the ones who actually do the transportation from Laredo to San Antonio or to the valley. But we will find out who the contact person is, and that will be, we can extend the invitation.
Okay, Sergeant, so thank you for volunteering to contact the Webb County, to invite them to the next meeting. And, whoever that's going to be, give us their email address so we can include them in the database to invite them. Okay,
I had a question
Yes.
so is this, I know you guys get like calls, right?
Mhm.
For crisis calls, is that information shared with LPD, or is there a way that we can track also those numbers of, cause I know sometimes you guys go and assess and you're like, hey, there's no need for hospitalized, is that accessible, is that something that we can
Yes,
look at?
now we have a YCOT, a youth crisis outreach team. On the adult side, it would be the MCOTS. And so we have Vanessa Ortegon, who will have those numbers,
Yeah.
and Denise for the adult side. So when we get activated to school, we do tell the counselors to call the eval number, the 1-800-643-1102, or 988, which will, divert it to that number. Yes, they have to submit reports to the state on a monthly basis, so we can have those numbers. I'll ask them both.
Thank you, yeah, so we can, perhaps there's like a different outreach and we can definitely have that information, thank you.
excellent idea, thank you. Anybody else comments or questions? Very good. The next item on the agenda is the report from the Laredo Public Health. And we have.
shared in the general email address book to everybody, or do we have to specifically request it?
I can tell her to include it, yeah, I can ask if she can include it in the general email. Yes. But, like I said, we do invite you to, right now, you go home and you're on social media, you go to our pages and go look for those posts and share, comment, save, to increase those interactions and it can reach more people from our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for always bringing new information and updates on the work that the public health team is doing, so thank you so much for that. Any questions for them?
I'm sorry, the Columbia project, is that, protocol, I'm sorry, is that, something, cause I know our team was discussing maybe use that as a method to even push it out with our officers so that they can, maybe with our community, and use it like as a rubric on how to ask questions or what to ask.
Yes. That's a
So-
great tool.
So we wanted to have our officers, and I know our team had been discussing that.
Sergeant, just as I mentioned before, with under DHS CBP, all smart devices issued to an employee have the downloaded Columbia, and it's also for self, whenever you think you're going through.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because, you know, every officer has one of these, so I'm gonna pretty much ask the chief to see if we can,
Yes.
if we can push that out, cause if it is, then it'd be great, cause we have a lot of little apps.
Yeah.
Of course, the majority of them, it's just to see what all the calls that are going on, but if it's something that our officers can use,
Yes.
I think that'd be a great idea.
That would be great, and then see
Especially-
if we have what county sheriff and the
Yeah.
PD chiefs from the districts, they can also utilize the same tool.
As a matter of fact, if I may, I have the public and the DHS version. The DHS version, like the ladies mentioned, you put in your zip code and it'll tell you the local resources that you might have, that employee or that person going through a crisis. So because of the losses that we've had in the government, they've reverted to this, so I applaud you for bringing this up. And if you could continue to bring it up, because, it is important. It's free and it's knowledgeable, it's used by us in the military, law enforcement, and in the hospitals, so thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for the discussion.
And like, if you download the app, it would, like if you click here, it would guide you on how to talk about suicide. Cause sometimes you don't know, how do I bring this up, right? So it gives you some, information how to talk about that topic. It gives you some crisis resources. And it also gives you some facts about suicide as well. And then, it asks you some questions about the person that you're trying to help in order to guide you through.
Thank you so much. So I invite everybody to look at the app closely and utilize it as much as you can and share it with others. And thank you for bringing that to our attention. Any other questions or comments before we move on? Okay, the next item is the You're Not Alone awareness. So I wanna just say that this past Friday, there was a campaign at the corner of Del Mar and McPherson, and it was a tremendous turnout. Thank you to all of the people that went out and participated. I was out of town at a meeting, but, the staff kept me posted. It was so nice to see all the different agencies come together and create awareness, and like I said earlier, now we're gonna add a message, are you concerned about a loved one, call 98 or text 98. These campaigns will continue. You are invited to create your own campaign. For example, I know you mentioned you're with WestCare, your office is on Santa Maria in Washington, right?
That's his office, we're in Lomas del Sur.
Okay.
We have two offices.
Oh, wonderful. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So if you're near an intersection or a street that's very well trafficked, at any time of the day, you're welcome to have your own campaign and invite people to join you. It doesn't have to be for a long period of time, but people will see it, they'll share it with others. I look forward to one day, all the different areas in our community will have that. And then I thought, when this incident happened at the park, maybe we need to do campaigns at the park. Just my idea, you know, and So we will continue, with the You're Not Alone campaign, and now we're gonna look at maybe advertising, I'll reach out again to the agencies that have been supportive and see what they can help us with. Becky, did I forget anything? The next item is update on new projects for the new year, and we did complete a training on April the 3rd, or was it the 13th? So long ago.
Very bad, so.
Suicide loss team training, and Frank, thanks to you for introducing them to us. Do you want to just say a couple of sentences of what we did?
Sure.
And thank you, Mr. Moreno, for hosting the
No,
training.
always, this committee. Yes, it was a great facility that the lost, team training was held. We brought in, Tammy Whippleman, and I forgot the other person's name, but she's, director for lost project that they created, but they're also hoping that the funding will not be cut. Information that was shared was very important to know how to approach, those folks that have, experienced a loss. And like Tammy mentioned, when these teams are created, they need to be in teams, can't be an individual going out. And when they do this type of work, it can't be every single week, the same people going out. Because, like everything else, PD officers, folks in the first responders, you need to decompress. So when you're out there with families, listening to them, and really that's what they want, like you mentioned, because discussion, it was asked by the audience, what do we ask? What do we do? And sometimes people just want you to hear them out, listen to what they're saying. And of course, those that are part of it, it will always be good for it to be a person with lived experience, because then they can understand, empathize with them, what they've gone through, the recent loss. And so it might be folks that are battle buddies, that they lost a loved one, they took their lives, and what comes after that? Who comes and cleans up? It doesn't end just because of lost lives. So, in certain parts of Texas, they have companies that will give a free service to that family. Because, just like my good friend, since I've known her since middle school, lost her significant other at her business, who comes and cleans up after that? So she also mentioned that there was a company out of Corpus, right? That was very inexpensive, right? I think it was about 2,100 or something, right?
Something that low.
But some people can charge up to $12,000. And of course, why? Because they're taking advantage of a situation that has happened. And we don't want that to happen to individuals in our community. So, it was a great training. Everybody participated. It was great, the facility. And I know they sent you an email, Becky, Tammy. If there's anything that is pending or whatever it is that they need to send, let's make sure we ask them about the PowerPoint.
Did you get a copy of the PowerPoint?
No.
Did you ask her?
Mhm.
And is everybody familiar with what LOSS stands for?
I don't think the new members that are
Yeah,
present
so
today.
it was a LOSS training, and it stands for Local Outreach Suicide Survivors.
And we can send that information to everybody along with the PowerPoint.
So, and then from some of the conversations I heard at the training, there was some suicide survivors near the back row, and they were thinking of starting what's it called?
A team, supportive, yes.
A support group, sorry, thank you.
So there was a lot of great ideas that were bounced around. What motivates me to continue to encourage all of us to do more is the fact that there's people that are willing to do more. They raise their hand, I wanna volunteer. And so it's just a matter of organizing ourselves a little bit better so we can do more. So thank you for that.
We had one of those individuals that wants to volunteer, but she's quiet.
Don't
Christine,
worry, we'll get
introduce
her
yourself,
talking.
Christine.
We'll get her talking. Let's move to the next item because we're running out of time. And the next item is a protocol for families experiencing a loss. And Ms. Jackman?
So I apologize, I was not at the last meeting, but I did have a chance to speak to, I contacted Eddie, and I also contacted, Richie Gonzalez from the Laredo Police Department, so that we could try to come up with, a protocol that would be followed consistently, by the patrol officers or the officers that responded, because that was one of the things that we discussed, that we may come up with a protocol, but if it's not applied consistently, it doesn't do much good. So, one of the first things that we thought of was, whenever someone goes to either an attempted suicide or a successful suicide, that the person that should be tasked with following up, coming up with some sort of strategy or, information gathering, it probably should not be the officer that originally responded, that it should be the investigator that is assigned to, it is the Capers, which is the.
Homicide.
It's a homicide, division. We've also had a lot of murders, so it is an overwhelming thing to do, but we believe that the best place to start would be with the investigator. And so these are just some of the notes that I had written out the last time I was going to be coming. But it was for the investigator to identify if it was an attempted suicide, and get the information about the individual and get into some sort of counseling. That if it's a family, and also find out the family that's living with, in the same household, or known affected person, even if they're not there. If it was a fight with a girlfriend, also find out their information so that we can also reach out to them. Identify if they're under 17 or over 17, so that we know that we then push along this plan to TAMI LC, or if it's a school, UISD, LISD, the different agencies, if it's for someone who's a young adult. And then this information, this investigator should then get this information to the mental health stakeholders, who will then inform the ISDs, MHMR, and then we develop a healing plan. Now, one of the things that I started looking at, because we have this committee and we're brainstorming ideas, and I did a quick search on the mental or suicide prevention laws that exist, and I found one that's codified in Montana, and it's the Montana Code for social services and institutions. It's under the chapter that deals with mental illness, and there's a section that's suicide prevention program. I thought it was really interesting because that's our goal, and this is actually codified in their laws, and it gives the parameters in which to follow up and do these things. And so it says you have a suicide prevention officer, but what I absolutely loved is it says training for medical professionals, military personnel, school personnel, social services. But these are, because it's in here, you would hope that it's somewhat funded. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things, it's interesting that we're doing this, and it is on a volunteer basis. Mm-hmm. But our goal is to be able to have something where it becomes a system, and it is a program that
integrated into what's already been.
Yes, and so a lot of the ideas that I wanted to meet with PD to see what's a viable thing for the investigator to find out, such as, like in that situation, I'm sure all of us felt extremely sad that these young individuals actually ended their lives. And so, like when you said, you just wondered, did you see, maybe they were around you, and the idea that somebody, what I think probably one of the worst regrets that somebody who loses someone like this is, could I have noticed something differently? And I think that an investigator who goes out to the scene to make it be very mindful as to who may have been affected by this situation, whether it was attempted or successful, who else dealt with this, so that they are gonna be motivated to help someone else find this same situation. And that's when I thought of are you concerned about someone? Because those are the people that reach out to you. It's the loved ones, it's not the people who are going through the depression or the sadness or the crisis, yeah. So we can come up with, the only plan that I could come up with was, it was just to streamline so that we can get information to the necessary organizations who can help. And so that's what, we had briefly talked about, it was a telephonic conference that we had,
Yes.
back then, so.
I think that, that's a great start, and I can almost visualize the flow chart, because some people are very visual. So if this happens, then this person gets involved, and if this happens, or this person notices this, then this person gets involved. And it might seem overwhelming, but I'm a strong believer that nothing is impossible. If you organize it well and it's clear, so that everybody that wants to help out helps. So I think that's a great start, Ms. Jackman.
So I would like to work on a flow chart, like a workflow for the information, and I'll be honest with you, when you said a little while ago, 988, it comes to, where does it go? Who answers the 988? That information is, what organization is it? And does it get,
Well, we got statistics at the last meeting, and which we'll be sharing with you, including how many calls have gone in, where the call center is for our region. So thanks to the health department, public health, they were able to discover that, and they will continue to report.
I mean, it might be very basic as to
Yeah.
where the information is gonna go, but at least I think because LPD as first responder, they get that information, it's a good way to start vetting out, who can help. Because a lot of people wanna help, they just didn't know that they were needed at a certain time, so that's.
And that's what we're gonna find out or identify where the gaps are, so that we can all brainstorm.
I'm sorry, to add to Ms. Jack, I think we included, and maybe PD can be the first to bring this up. I know normally for domestic violence, we need to fill out a certain form. I'm thinking something similar, but we, the police department, and I'm pretty sure if I talk to Chief Gonzalez and Chief Rodriguez, if we can add it into policy, that way our officers, are pretty much mandated to do it. And say, hey, did you follow all this protocol?
So.
And if not, you can get in trouble, and that's what we wanna do, make sure that they do it so frequently that
It's an automatic thing.
it's an automatic thing. Make sure that all those, Ts are crossed and all those Is are dotted, and that way we can also use some form of form. We can pretty much champion that, and then we can also add other departments like the Webb County, so, you never know, maybe like that.
So when I spoke to Rich, I said, I wanted every officer, and that's when the suggestion was, it'll inevitably not necessarily be followed. And that's why he said, I think it should be, the investigator is the one that should be tasked.
And that's why, because if it's not in policy, Ms. Jack, I hate to say it.
I'm gonna just say this, I think this is great discussion, but I think y'all need to meet as a committee, and I'll be more than happy to be there with you, I'll be there with you. I think this is a great start, don't y'all think?
Yes.
I mean, this is why we're here, and we need to feel like we're making progress, even though they're baby steps, but I think we've come a long way, and fast forward to the end of this year, we're gonna be in a great place, because we will feel like we've done a lot more, so thank you for all the great ideas, for the feedback, and I look forward to hearing, a report for next month. In the meantime, if y'all need anything between now and then, please feel free to reach out to any of us, we're all eager to assist. Any other comments or questions? Very brief.
if I may, I just wanna give kudos to your department, specifically you, ma'am. I went to go do a personal retreat in the prior Batesville area. I took my shirt, took the posters, I took the banners, people that loved it. I had a good conversation. Should've lasted only 30 minutes, an hour and a half. Parents and the students there didn't know about 1998, didn't know about Columbia. They're hungry. So if any of this kind of information that I can take, again, I appreciate it. I'm broke, so I'm just gonna take it away.
And I'm just gonna add to that, this past weekend I went to Houston and the same thing happened to me. I was wearing the 98 shirt, not because of anything, I just grabbed whatever was in the drawer. And I drove to Houston, I would get up and people would say, what is that? So I was kinda like the walking commercial. So when I got to my sister's, she had like a little get together, people were asking, they wanted materials.
Right.
So I said, well, here's the website, order it, because they want it on the refrigerator. How come we haven't heard about that? I said, well, that's where we were,
Yeah.
2-3 years ago, and now people are talking about it. So
Yes.
please take advantage of wearing your shirt and look forward to the next campaign, the rally that we're gonna have. And if you wanna create your own, invite us all so we can support you as well. With that being said, I wanna go ahead and, ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Before I take the vote, I wanna just say that, all the committee members in your folder, you received a memorandum from, Mr. Mario Maldonado reminding us about expressing a personal views on city matters. Remember that when we are before the cameras, the media, whoever it is, the opinion should be yours and not as a committee member of the city of Laredo, because there are certain rules and regulations we must follow. Unless, we are given permission to represent the entire body, otherwise, and just play it safe. Sometimes it's difficult to remember, but just say, who's talking? Well, it's Julie talking, not the chair of the committee, right? So just read it, and it was also emailed to you by Angie on April the 16th. And with that being said, thank you so much. The meeting is adjourned. We will see you next month. We're gonna take a quick picture.
Thank you for the mental health